What's going on, guys? Welcome back to We Want Picks. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckle Salamander. Thank you for joining me here again today for a full card breakdown of UFC Vegas 63. Before we get started, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you are new, and let me say, this is one of those weeks where you need to listen to the analysis more than the picks, because there's a lot of favorites on this card that I'm probably going to pick. But I'm going to tell you in the breakdowns that it's a little bit wishy-washy. It's a little bit iffy. There's a lot of not very good fighters that are favorites on this card. So make sure you listen to the analysis, not necessarily the picks, although I will give you a pick for every single fight. But with that said, let's get into the full card breakdown for UFC Vegas 63, Calvin Kattar versus Arnold Allen. First fight, we have a newly announced Cody Durden versus Carlos Mota. And this is one of those fights, guys, that I'm telling you right now. I don't know what the odds are. They haven't announced the odds. I got to imagine that Durden is going to be the favorite with the wrestling. Not short notice, but Carlos Mota is a live dog, man. Especially in that first round. He is a live dog. And immediately I started thinking, inside the distance, decision, no action. And this is going to come down to, can Cody Durden get those takedowns that he needs to withstand the striking of Carlos Mota? Because that dude is absolutely no joke. Against Charles Johnson in his LFA fight, 3 fights ago, he did struggle with getting taken down, but that was late in the fight. So short notice, Cody Durden coming in, maybe wrestling early. Can he wear on the gas tank and get those takedowns he needs? Because if he stands in front of Carlos Mota, I think he's going to be in big trouble, even though it is short notice. This is not one of those normal short notice people. Carlos Mota is very live in this matchup. I'm going to be interesting to see how the odds stack up. I got to imagine Durden is probably going to be like a -175, -200. I'm going to be looking on action on the other side. But like I said, listen to the analysis, not the picks, because my pick is going to be the safe play. And Cody Durden, I think he should be able to win this against a short notice opponent. But if he comes in and starts messing around, Mota is very live, and my money for the value is probably going to be on the Mota side. Like I said, inside the distance, decisional action. We'll see how it plays out. But that is the first fight of the night. My official pick is Cody Durden. We'll see how it plays out, see what the odds are. But I'll be rooting for Mota, man. Next up, we have Roman Dolidze versus Phil Hawes, and I cannot believe that this is on the prelims. I think they're going to end up making it the featured prelim, but this is a banger of a matchup. And if you looked at Roman Dolidze's last couple fights, he can be boring. So I guess that's why they put it on the featured prelims, maybe to kind of sell the main card, but he can be boring. And in this matchup, he needs to be boring. He needs to do exactly what he did in his last fight versus, I think it was Staropoli, is that just hold Phil Hawes against the cage. Because Phil Hawes, although I can't trust him in the past versus strikers, he should have the absolute striking advantage in this matchup. Very quick jab, very quick hands right down the pipe. He should be able to beat up the face of Roman Dolidze. But the issue here is if Roman Dolidze is able to get an early takedown, early cage control, he could really wear on the gas tank that has been a suspect for Phil Hawes in the past. And Phil Hawes, even if, let's say, he decides to wrestle, or he's able to reverse positions and end up on top of Roman Dolidze. I don't know why he would want to be down there, but let's say he does. He did versus Kyle Dawkins. Kyle Dawkins was able to sweep him and end up on top and threaten submissions. Oh, I think he was in full mount at one point. So Phil Hawes, even though he's a good wrestler and he does have that pedigree, if he starts getting into weird scrambles with Roman, I believe Roman will win those scrambles. And I know that Roman is going to be a very trendy pick this week, and I get it. And this is another one of those breakdowns. My pick is going to be Phil Hawes. He should be able to withstand the grappling. He's going to be the much better striker, but Roman does throw heat. And he is relentless with that grappling, and he does not care to be boring. A lot of people, and I'll mention some people later on this card, will grapple and they get a little bit too aggressive. Roman Dolidze will hold you against the fence to win the fight. He doesn't give a shit. And he's game. He's tough as shit as well. So the safe pick here is Phil Hawes. He should be better pretty much everywhere except in like the pure scramble wrestling. But I understand why people love Roman Dolidze in this matchup. So my official pick is Phil Hawes. I might look for a little bit of action on Roman Dolidze, but I think maybe Phil Hawes by points is a little bit of a play I'm going to be looking at. But my official pick is Phil Hawes. Let's move on to the next one. Joseph Holmes versus Jun Young Park, and this is the battle of who is the worst fighter. I mean, I hate to say it like that. I know that these guys are good fighters, but when I watch Park, I don't see any danger. I see a guy that's just very methodical. He's pretty well-rounded, but he's not. There's nothing when I watch tape on Park where I'm like, oh, wow, he's very good at blank. Joseph Holmes, on the other hand, at least is pretty good on the ground, right? In the jiu-jitsu, in the scrambles, not necessarily the wrestling with takedowns, but at least he is good somewhere. And Park, being a, minus 230 favorite in this matchup is like, it is mind-blowing to me. I think that Park should be the favorite. He's going to be the cleaner striker. He should be able to defend whatever takedowns that Holmes throws his way. But man, a 230 favorite for somebody that isn't dangerous at all. And Park, he might get a knockout now that I said that, but Park has no danger at all coming towards Holmes. I gotta imagine at some point Holmes might find some weird transition, get him to the ground, and then be a threat there. So this is another one of those instances, guys. Park is my pick. He should be the safe pick. He should be able to withstand the wrestling and grappling and win the striking exchange in this matchup. But Holmes is the more dangerous guy. So this might be another one where I'm looking at inside the distance, decision no action for Holmes. So my money is probably going to be on Holmes, the value underdog play, but Park is probably the safer pick if you are just picking fights, which I am doing in this instance. So my official pick is Park, but I think Holmes is the much more dangerous guy, and the minus 230 odds are insane. Do not play those at all. I think this is more of a pick'em fight, maybe a minus 150 for Park, but let's move on to the next one. Chase Hooper versus Steve Garcia, and honestly, I think this is one of the safer plays on this matchup for Chase Hooper. This kid is tough, man. This kid is absolutely tough. He is basically Ryan Hall reincarnated 2.0, somebody that was an insane grappler but has actually started to work on their striking and actually shows very, very good improvements in their striking. Also tough as hell, man. This kid is tough. He will stand and bang and then work for those transitions. His wrestling isn't great. He still doesn't have great takedowns. I have to imagine that those will keep improving. He's a young dude, but in this matchup versus a guy, Steve Garcia, who gets dropped in almost every single fight, and he just got flatlined. I mean, face first, like, whoa, like zombie flatline in his last fight. This seems like the perfect matchup for Chase for one reason. Chase should be able to stand and bang with him. Chase has a chin, he doesn't mind getting hit, and he can throw heat as well. And Steve Garcia, when he gets hit, when he gets hurt, when the striking is not working, he goes to his wrestling, which is exactly what Chase Hooper wants you to do. Chase Hooper has no problems pulling guard, and he doesn't stay in guard. He's not one of those guys that stays in guards, throwing up triangles. He will do that, but he's always looking to sweep to advanced positions to then look for submissions. And he definitely is a submission over position guy. So he's not just going to stay on top and grind. He is going to keep rolling and keep rocking around until he finds the submission that he wants. But I think that Chase Hooper could honestly find a knockout and a TKO in this matchup. I know Chase by sub is probably going to be a popular bet, but with Steve Garcia's chin issues and the way that Chase has been fighting lately, I could see him dropping him and then just finishing him with a TKO. So my official pick is Chase Hooper. I love him in this matchup. It might be my famous last words, but he's a very confident pick. I don't know if I'm going to play the money line yet. We'll see how it plays out. I might look for an inside the distance for Chase instead, but my official pick is Chase Hooper, baby. Next up, we have Andrei Arlovski versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima, and this is a heavyweight fight. And what do I tell you about heavyweight fights? Don't bet them. Don't ever bet heavyweight fights, and this is the exact reason why. We have like a 44, 43-year-old coming in against Rogerio de Lima, who throws absolute heat. Andrei Arlovski on this crazy streak. He's won, 6 of his last 7 fights. De Lima, I think, is coming off that decision loss versus Bologna. I can't remember what the guy's name is. I think it's like Bologna or something like that. I got to go with De Lima in this. This is just a pick, and there's not much breakdown to heavyweight fights because anything can happen, especially when we get older guys that just throw heat. But I know Andrei Arlovski has looked good lately. He's won 6 of 7, but that fight versus Jake Collier, he was getting hit. I mean, he was getting hit. He was split open, and he won that fight. But if you're getting hit the same way, if Jake Collier is hitting you the same way that De Lima is hitting people, it's not going to be good for Andrei Arlovski. He's had chin issues in the past. Somehow, at 40 years old, he's cleaned up his chin. But I got to imagine he does not keep winning fights. Again, my pick is De Lima. Don't put money on this fight. Don't put money on either side. Don't put anybody in parlays. Never bet heavyweight fights. They're too inconsistent. They're too hard to break down. The next one is even harder to break down because we'll talk about when we talk about it. But my official pick, if I have to pick, is De Lima. The breakdown is, we'll see what happens. Heavyweight fights usually end up pretty boring. This one could be more of the same. Let's move on to the next one. Tresean Gore versus Josh Fremd, and this is an interesting matchup. This is a very, very interesting matchup because Tresean Gore is one of those dudes that just has not shown up and been what everyone thought he could be. Even he, before his UFC debut, was talking about, I'm going to be the double champ. I'm going to be the double champ. Now he's 0-2 in the UFC. And sometimes, I'm telling you right now, sometimes those 0-2 guys fighting for their lives, because you got to imagine he knows he's fighting for his life, come in with either a different game plan or they come in much more aggressive than they normally are. And that's exactly what Tresean Gore needs to be because he's a good fighter. He's a good fighter who is explosive. And in that fight versus Bryan Battle, he could have won that fight. Every time he touched Bryan Battle, he hurt him. He just never threw punches. Same thing in his last fight. He just never threw punches until he got dropped. If he comes in with that aggressive style versus a guy like Josh Fremd, he could have some good success because Josh is not a proven guy himself. Came in against Fluffy, short notice fight. He looked good, won some scrambles, and that's probably going to be the easier path for Josh is the wrestling. Wrestle Tresean, wear him down, do what you need to do there. But he does like to stand and bang at times too. And if Tresean Gore, because what he does is he stalks people and he gets them against the fence and then he just kind of stares at them, right? He just kind of stares at them. But if he gets them against the fence and all of a sudden he flips that switch, 0-2, I got to win this fight, and he starts throwing heat, we could have Josh, a big favorite in this fight, in big, big trouble. So this is, again, one of those fights where I don't know if I'm going to put money on it. My official pick, I know it seems like I'm talking out both sides of my neck, but I just want you guys to be very cautious that just because you hear a pick doesn't mean we're all in on that pick. You don't have to put money on every single fight, and my pick is Josh Fremd. He should have the wrestling and should be able to withstand the striking of Tresean Gore, and I will never pick somebody that hasn't proved something to me yet. I will never pick Tresean Gore until he proves he is who he says he is. So, if Tresean Gore had proved to a point that he is who he could be, I would pick him in this matchup, but he has not shown that he can come in and throw the volume needed to win a fight. So with that said, I got to go default to Josh Fremd in this matchup, but Tresean Gore I think is going to be live, but we'll see if he actually shows up for a fight once. I'm going to be the double champ. Let's move on to the next one. Waldo versus Jared Vanderaa, and this is another heavyweight matchup, and this one might be the most wild of all, because Jared Vanderaa, who the hell knows what's going to happen in a Jared Vanderaa fight, and I actually think that he could win this matchup. He needs to survive the first round because Waldo is a dude, man. I mean, Waldo is one of those heavyweights, the typical heavyweight, come in, throw heavy, don't give it about anything, let me land on your chin and knock you out. But if Jared Vanderaa, with this experience, and let's say he can take some shots, get out of the first round, I mean, Waldo is a guy, he's not necessarily first round or bust. It's not like he has all first round finishes, but he definitely is going to be chasing a first round finish in this matchup. There is no doubt about that. If he cannot get the big mountain out of the first round, this could be like the most prototypical Jared Vanderaa win of all time, where he just gets the shit beat out of him in the first round, doesn't get finished, and then just lays on Waldo for the next 2 rounds and wins a weird decision. So this might be a Waldo first round play, and then just stay away from it, because I will never put money or make a pick for the mountain Jared Vanderaa at this point in his career. So my pick is Waldo. I feel semi-confident about it, but again, these are heavyweights. They get tired. Anything can happen. Waldo should be able to win this fight. I would hope he wins it in the first round, but experience and cardio can go a long way with heavyweights, especially against a young guy like Waldo who's going to be chasing a finish and headhunting early. So again, stay away from heavyweight fights. You'll be much more successful, but my official pick for this fight is Waldo. Next up, we have Dustin Jacoby versus Khalil Rountree, and I am biased on this pick because Dustin Jacoby is my absolute dude. I told you guys that he was going to win his last. Everyone, oh, he's going to get knocked out. Don't, he's going to knock him out. Oh, he's going to knock him out. Dustin Jacoby stands no chance. And Dustin Jacoby came in and knocked that dude out just as I said he would. He is the real deal striker. I mean, he is a real deal next level striker on this crazy streak and could actually compete for a title, and he could be one of those weird dudes that wins a title. He is that good in his kickboxing. He won that one fight where he couldn't even throw any kicks, and he still was a good enough striker to win a decision. But in this matchup, this feels like I am so confident in Dustin Jacoby in this matchup versus Khalil Rountree, because Khalil Rountree is very inconsistent, right? He's a very powerful dude. He throws powerful, but he's very inconsistent with his striking and the way that he fights in general. I mean, it seems like every time he comes into a fight, he has a different fighting style. Sometimes it's Muay Thai. Sometimes it was this low stance his last fight. Sometimes he's aggressive. Sometimes he's not. So I have no idea what kind of Khalil Rountree is going to show up to this fight, and it feels like one of those fights where Dustin Jacoby is going to be dominating, doing his Dustin Jacoby thing, touch fighting, boom, boom, landing shots, in and out, nice kickboxing, and then he's going to get caught by the Khalil Rountree. I can already see it in my mind. Dustin Jacoby, we're feeling good. We're 3 minutes in the first round. He's destroying Khalil Rountree, and then Khalil just gets pissed off and just throws a big right hand and catches Dustin, because Khalil really is no joke when it comes to explosion and power. But in this matchup, it should be all technique, and technique wins 9 out of 10 times in my mind, and that should be all over Dustin Jacoby. Even if Khalil comes in and let's say he tries to wrestle, Dustin Jacoby knows, and he's shown in the past, that he can defend the takedowns from people, because he's the kickboxer and people want to wrestle the kickboxer. He can withstand the takedowns. Maybe that's wearing down Khalil. Maybe he finds a finish, but I'm Dustin Jacoby all the way in this matchup. Khalil Rountree is just too inconsistent, but he will have the power advantage. So if you want to sprinkle a little bit on Khalil, I get it. Dustin does get hit at times, but he should be more than capable to handle the power of Khalil Rountree. So my official pick for this matchup is my dude, Dustin Jacoby. I'm slightly biased, but he should be more than capable in this matchup. Next up, we have the co-main event, the Dirty Bird, Tim Means versus Max Payne Griffin, and this is going to be probably the fight of the night. There's a lot of fights on this card I think are going to be pretty boring, right? I don't think there's going to be a ton of finishes early on. I don't think there's going to be a finish in this fight, but this one could get. Anytime you get the Dirty Bird in here for 3 rounds, it is going to be wild. You saw that versus Kevin Holland, and I think this is going to be a very, very, very interesting fight, because Max Griffin does have power. He is going to be live in the first round. He is a very good fighter, but he's not a killer. He's not going to come in and just finish Tim Means right off the rip. And after that, after the first 5 minutes, it's like, now what happens? Because we saw Max Griffin do the exact same thing versus Neil Magny. He looked good in the first, drops Neil Magny, and then what happens? Neil just starts wearing on him. The pace, the pressure, the wrestling just starts wearing down Max Griffin to where in the third round he couldn't do anything and he was just surviving for his life. And I almost see the exact same thing happening in this fight. If Tim Means, which he shows he can, survive the first round, the onslaught of Max Griffin, which it's not crazy pace, it's not crazy power, but he does land good shots early and does have power. If he can withstand that early pace, if he can withstand the first round, which I definitely think he can definitely. If there is anyone that can wear down anyone, it is the Dirty Bird, Tim Means, with his wrestling, his unorthodox style of striking, can wear down anyone. And I definitely think that he can wear down Max Griffin in the second round into the third round for a decision win for the Dirty Bird, Tim Means. So this is going to be a fun fight. I think it could be the fight of the night. I think Max is very live early, but if you got to go with consistency, cardio, and pace and pressure, I will choose that 9 out of 10 times, and I gotta go with the Dirty Bird, Tim Means, to get it done once again against Max Payne Griffin. I cannot wait for this fight. Let's go to the main event for UFC Vegas 63. For the main event for UFC Vegas 63, we have the dynamic Calvin Kattar versus my dude Arnold. I am biased again in this pick, and Arnold Allen. Let me get something straight here. I am biased, but I am scared to death from my dude Arnold Allen. I put money on him. He was the underdog. He is now the favorite in this fight. But I just rewatched Calvin Kattar versus the Gremlin, and I just watched Arnold Allen versus Dan Hooker. And Arnold Allen, even when he was beating the shit out of Dan Hooker, he still got dropped in some of those exchanges. I know he won that fight, and I had him. He was my lock of the week that week, and I felt good about it. But if he comes in and tries to extend that same game plan versus Calvin Kattar, he's going to need a big trouble. He needs to play this much more safe and a lot like his other fights, because normally Arnold Allen is a very precise kind of counter striker, taking his time, mixing in some takedowns, get you against the fence, slow the fight down, very methodical. He's a good counter puncher. He doesn't really sit on power, but he knows. That was my favorite part about Arnold Allen and what he needs to go back to in this. The Dan Hooker fight, the second the fight started, the second he started landing shots, he was aggressive and all over him. You cannot do that versus Calvin Kattar, because either you're going to get taken down with the wrestling of Calvin Kattar, or the counter striking is going to be there. He's a much better counter striker than what Dan Hooker was in that matchup. I want Arnold Allen to go back to the old game plans. Just kind of pick them apart, right? Just nice. You don't have to lay power on everything. Take your time. Throw those shots out there. You're going to be able to hit them. Mix in some takedowns. Let's plan on this being 5 rounds, and let's dominate 4 of the 5 rounds, because Calvin Kattar is a very good boxer. Even in that Max Holloway fight where he got the shit beat out of him, he was still hitting Max. If you saw Max's face at the end of that fight too, Calvin Kattar was also beating up the face of Max Holloway. So Calvin Kattar, even in that loss, was striking really, really well. I know he was getting his face beaten as well. Arnold's not going to be the same striker in that matchup. If you had to ask me who the better boxer is of this, definitely Calvin Kattar. If you had to ask me who the best wrestler is, definitely Arnold Allen. If you had to ask me who the best mixed martial artist of the two between these, I would say Arnold Allen, very slightly, and the odds reflect that, right? He is now a favorite in this matchup. I'm going to pick Arnold Allen in this matchup, but I'm scared to death, guys. This is one of those rare occasions where I'm biased for my guy, and I am not all in, because Calvin Kattar is no joke. He's going to have the boxing. He can mix in the wrestling. If Arnold Allen starts getting hurt and tries to wrestle, he can withstand the wrestling and then start really putting pace and pressure on Arnold Allen. A lot of times, and Angelo has mentioned it, these guys that don't know, they don't have a lot of losses. Arnold Allen, 18-1. Sometimes you don't know what to do in the face of adversity, and once that adversity hits, you don't know how to react because you've never been there. We saw that with Sean Brady against Bilal Muhammad. Sean Brady was getting beat up, and it's like, oh my God, I'm losing. Now what do I do? They don't know how to lose or react in those situations. We could see the same thing in Arnold Allen in this fight. Calvin Kattar pushing pace, pushing pressure, gets Arnold on his back foot, a little bit of panic sets in, but I got to stick with my guy. I don't feel great about it. Confidence level from 1 to 10 is probably going to be a 5. It's a coin flip. I'm going to stick with my guy Arnold Allen to mix in some wrestling. I think this is a 5-round war, and one of these guys should be fighting for a title again very, very soon. But my official pick is Arnold Allen for UFC Vegas 63. I appreciate you guys tuning into this video. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you are new. If you have any questions, comments, or concern, leave them in the comments below and I will be sure to answer them. Join the Discord to see me in there every single day. If you guys want to talk to me all day, every day, the Discord is free in the description below. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm out of here.